To chaos caused by COVID in Washington, D.C. At least 5 of those defiant Texas Democrats have tested positive for coronavirus after meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris. Remember these images we showed you last week? Well, the vice president reportedly, as a result of this, visited the Walter Reed Center over the weekend for a, quote, routine checkup, though. That's what they're calling it. And the Trafalgar Group has also at the same time, and the Convention of States poll, they're out showing that confidence, or the confidence level that voters have in the vice president being ready to be president has dropped. More than 58% say that they are not confident at all in Vice President Harris, compared to just 4.8% saying they're very confident. Look at that. Well, broken down by party, more than 83% of Republicans are not confident at all, compared to nearly 36% of Democrats. Now, 38% of Democrats are very confident, compared to just 4.6% of Republicans. Joining us now to discuss is Newsmax columnist and host of Dick Morris Democracy right here on Newsmax, Dick Morris. Dick, I always enjoy talking with you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So what do you think about these latest poll numbers?
I just hope that Harris does better on her COVID test than she did in the poll.
That's true.
What's going on is unbelievably interesting. The Biden administration is marginalizing its own vice president and dumping on her. 2 weeks ago, there was a big story that Harris's aides say she's not ready to be president and that she's not disciplined and not doing her homework. And that couldn't have come from Harris's people. They're not going to kill their own meal ticket. It had to have come from the Biden people. And I think the reason they're doing this is that they're worried that as Biden's dementia worsens and becomes more and more apparent, the push for the 25th Amendment and to make Harris acting president is going to accelerate. And I think they're sending these negative shots at Harris as shots across her bow to basically say, back off, kid, otherwise we'll really fry you. And also to invoke the Spiro Agnew insurance policy. I don't know if you have a policy, but it was one that Richard Nixon took out in '68 when he was facing impeachment. And the idea was Agnew is so terrible, nobody would want him to be president, so they'll leave Nixon in. And that, I think, is the Biden theory with Kamala Harris.
That's really interesting because, you know, I always look and try to see where the leaks are coming from. And you're right, those articles that were leaked a couple of weeks ago, specifically talking about how she was angry and she didn't treat her employees or people in the White House as, you know, in appropriate manners. So I was wondering why and who would leak that. So that does answer that question. You know, they've also seemed to have thrown her.
Biden people.
Yeah, they've also seemed to have thrown her under the bus when it comes to, you know, all their talk recently about Facebook and censoring people for misinformation, because that immediately brings up the comments that she made in reference to vaccines previously. Listen to this and I'll get your response.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
So not exactly adding to, you know, the respectability in terms of should we listen to what the administration or specifically Vice President Harris is saying?
Yeah, I think that the important thing about this poll is that, first of all, 40+% of the Democrats said that they were not fully confident that she could be president. And so it's not just a party thing. Overall, 63% of the voters said they're not at all confident or not very confident that she could be a good president. And even the fact that they're asking it shows that the Biden people are pushing the 25th Amendment narrative to fence her out and to eliminate it by making it clear that nobody thinks she can be president, the Spiro Agnew policy. And that's what I think you were looking at here.
Well, the other area that she was put in charge of, and she took months and months to actually go down to the border, was the immigration issue and the border problem. And there was this federal judge in Texas, I think just last week, that came down and said that the Biden administration has to immediately stop granting any new applications or under the Obama-era immigration program we all know as DACA. But now the Biden administration is saying that they're going to fight back on that.
Yeah, but they're in a tough position because Biden's former boss, Barack Obama, when he was pressed about DACA before he adopted it, saying he wouldn't, but then he flipped because the election was coming, said, I'm not king. I can't just do this. That's not constitutional. I need Congress to do that. And now that's been litigated, and the court now agrees with the old position of the former president, disagreeing with his current position and with Biden's position. But the whole point of this is they gave her this hostess present when she moved into the White House, Kamala. Here is the border crisis.
Right.
Have a poison pill on me. You know, swallow it with water. And now she's suffering from that poison pill. And why would they do that? Go back 1 second in history. She was put on the ticket because Biden had to promise a black woman vice president to get Clyburn's endorsement in South Carolina in the primary. Without that, he would have lost South Carolina and would never have won Super Tuesday. So first, why did the black community want a black VP so heavily? Because they knew Biden would not be a whole one-term president. And as opposed to going with a younger guy, Buttigieg or Warren or anybody else, they knew that this president would not make it for 4 years. And that within 4 years, they could reclaim the presidency, which was what the black community wanted to do. And now the Biden administration is seeing that, and they're hearing Harris's hoofbeats over their shoulder, and they're trying to knock Harris and say, oh, you don't really want to do this. We're sorry we made her vice president, but she couldn't really be president. Don't even think about that.
Interesting. Maybe too little, too late, and we will see. Dick Morris, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. And remember, everyone, you can read all of Dick Morris's latest columns by heading to Newsmax.com. And be sure to watch Dick on Dick Morris Democracy every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and again at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on Newsmax.